today possibly was the very best time. For over an hour, there was gold constantly. It was like Christmas forever. I enjoyed every second of it.
There's a massive gold discovery happening right now, and it's all thanks to a piece of tech that looks like it's from a movie. Dustin Hurd has unleashed a machine that's hauling up gold nuggets the size of cereal flakes. We're talking about a system that overcomes the biggest boulders in the creek like they're nothing but pebbles.
I fell off my feet. That hit a lot harder than I thought it would.
You're about to see 14 ounces of gold appear in a single run. It's an absolute game changer that's making the old-timers' methods look like child's play. Trust me, you don't want to miss the moment they hit the motherboard. Massive wealth hidden under McKinley Creek. McKinley Creek is a place where legends are born and dreams usually go to die, but Dustin Hurd's new approach is flipping the script. For years, people told the crew that this area was totally picked over by the old-timers who moved here 100 years ago. They said there wasn't anything left but dust and tiny flakes. But here's the catch. The guys just proved everyone wrong by pulling up a haul that's worth more than most people make in a year. It all started when they cleared out a dive hole that was about 8 feet deep. They'd been scraping the bottom for 2 weeks, and it was finally time to see if the hard work paid off.
We're not going to be able to continue that.
You want to see if you got any gold in the box?
When they got back to camp, they started running the concentrates through the system. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Carlos showed up out of nowhere, and the guys decided to play a little joke on him. They told him the cleanout was a total bust and that they didn't find much of anything. Carlos was devastated because he knows how hard they've been working. But then they showed him the truth. And get this, the gold they pulled out wasn't just fine dust. It was a pile of massive, chunky nuggets. When they dried everything out, they held a weigh-in ceremony that felt like winning the lottery. First, they weighed the fine gold, which came to 6.94 ounces. That's about 215 grams of pure wealth. With gold prices sitting around $2,000 an ounce, that fine gold alone was worth nearly $14,000. But they weren't done yet. Next came the big nuggets they'd handpicked from the hole. That pile weighed in at 7.3 ounces. When you add it all together, the total haul topped 14 ounces and was worth almost $30,000. It's a staggering amount of money for such a small area of the creek. Everyone's obsessed with the idea that the gold is gone, but Dustin's team just proved that the real treasure is buried deeper than anyone ever thought to look. They found a spot that had never been worked because the boulders were just too big for the old-timers to move.
Bunch of rocks come down in that hole.
Yeah. That scared the shit out of me.
It's not looking good.
It's not that simple though, because finding the gold is only half the battle. Now that they know the gold is there, they have to deal with the massive rocks blocking their path to the rest of it. There's a pile of boulders the size of small cars sitting right on top of the golden path. These rocks are way beyond the capacity of their normal gear. They can't just lift them out with winches or push them aside. If they want that $30,000 to turn into $300,000, they need a way to break those rocks into pieces. The crazy part is that they're working in a high-pressure underwater environment where everything is 10 times harder than it is on land. They've reached a point where their current machine just can't handle the weight. So, here's the deal. Dustin knew he had to find a secret weapon if he wanted to keep the gold flowing. He decided to take a short trip to see a local legend who knows more about moving mountains than anyone else in Alaska. One-Eyed Mark's secret blasting weapon. To solve the boulder problem, a trip was made to visit a man known as One-Eyed Mark. This guy is basically a living legend in the gold world and acts like a guide for anyone brave enough to mine these waters. Dustin didn't beat around the bush and told Mark exactly what was happening. They'd hit an underwater boulder that was stopping their progress cold. Mark didn't even hesitate. He reached into his shop and pulled out a rock blasting rig that's designed to blow up stones of any size. The best part is that it's small enough for one person to carry, but powerful enough to shatter solid granite. It's a specialized tool that uses small primer charges to break the rock from the inside out. This isn't about using massive amounts of dynamite that would ruin the creek. It's about precision.
Fred's Gold Blaster, it's a big pressure washer. Paul kind of got to a point where the regular pressure washer that we have just isn't working well enough.
Using explosives underwater is a whole different ballgame compared to doing it on the surface. You can't just light a fuse and run away. You need a way to drill deep into the heart of the boulder while you're submerged in freezing, rushing water. Mark's rig included a cordless underwater drill that looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, but this wasn't a normal drill you'd buy at a hardware store. It has to be pressurized with air before it even touches the water. If the internal pressure doesn't match the depth of the dive, the machine is toast. Basically, if the pressure is too low, the water will seep in and fry the electric motor instantly. If it's too high, the internal parts will seize up and the drill won't turn at all. It's a delicate balance that requires a lot of math and even more luck. What most people don't realize is how dangerous this part of the job really is. They're handling high-tech gear in an environment that wants to destroy it. James was chosen for the task because he's the strongest guy on the team, even if he's not the most experienced with the tools. He needed that brute strength to wrestle the drill into place against the current. He dove down 8 feet and started boring the holes. He needed 3 perfect holes to load the full blasting setup, but halfway through the second hole, the drill just died. It stopped spinning and wouldn't kick back over. James had to hand it up to the surface, and it looked like their new plan was already a failure. The mining stalled completely. Everyone was standing around wondering if they'd just fried their expensive new toy. But then something strange happened. The drill suddenly kicked back to life while it was sitting on the shore. Pressure, science, and mechanical failures. The crew realized they had a serious problem with how they were prepping the gear. It turns out they'd overpressurized the drill by a massive amount. Think about a car tire. A normal tire runs at about 35 pounds per square inch. They'd pumped this drill up to 90 pounds per square inch. That's more than 4 times the pressure you'd find at the depth they were working. This extra pressure was causing so much friction on the internal seals that it was creating massive amounts of heat. The motor's thermal cutoff switch was tripping because it thought the machine was melting. It's a classic case of trying too hard and causing more harm than good. Once they vented the air and reset it to the correct pressure, the drill started working like a charm. So here's the deal with the science of the blast. Carlos repressurized the drill to the exact setting needed for a 3-meter dive.
Get it buried and that water come up. Got a lot of material around it. I don't know if we'll be able to get this or not. I think I need the go blaster to get underneath it.
James went back down and finished the holes without any more issues. Now they had to pack in the primer charges. This is the most critical part of the whole operation. The primers have to fit perfectly tight inside the holes. When the trigger is pulled, an electric current hits the power head and sets off the bottom primer. Because the rock is solid and the hole is airtight, the energy from the explosion has nowhere to go. It forces its way through the microscopic cracks in the stone, shattering the boulder from the inside out. If the rock was loose or already cracked, the blast would just fizzle out and do nothing. It's all about containing that energy for a split second. The moment of truth arrived and everyone moved back. When the trigger was pulled, the water surface literally jumped. The crew could feel the shockwave through their boots even standing on the shore. It hit a lot harder than anyone expected. But when the bubbles cleared, they saw exactly what they wanted. That giant boulder that had been pinning down their gold was now broken into 3 manageable pieces. They used a cable rig to pull the smallest chunk out of the hole. As soon as that rock moved, they saw it. The gravel underneath was absolutely loaded. You could see the gold sitting there in the light of the underwater torches. It was a moment of pure joy for a team that had been struggling against nature for weeks. Underwater explosions reveal the motherboard. The team officially transitioned from being just miners to being underwater demolition experts. As they pulled the rock fragments away, the scene below was like something out of a treasure hunter's journal. There were nuggets just lying there in the open. It wasn't just a few flakes, it was a concentrated pocket of wealth that had been trapped for thousands of years. James went to town with the suction hose for a 5-hour shift. He was vacuuming up gravel that was more gold than dirt. When they checked the sluice box after only clearing a small part of the area, they found a literal pile of nuggets. It was so successful that Dustin decided he had to get in the water himself the next day. He wanted to see the bottom with his own eyes. And that's putting it lightly for starters. Dustin's dive was even more productive than the first. They dialed in the drill pressure perfectly now, so the next round of blasts went off without a single hitch. As the rubble was hauled away, Dustin started combing through the bedrock by hand. He found a nugget almost immediately. Then he found another. He started hooting and hollering through his dive mask so loud the guys on the surface thought he was losing his mind.
Are you all right? Is he losing his mind? Are you gonna bring it up or what?
Holy crap!
He was finding gold so fast he actually stopped picking it up by hand and switched to the suction hose because it was the only way to keep up. On the shore, Carlos was jokingly yelling at him not to suck up all the gold and to save some for the rest of the crew. This new system is getting them down to gold that the old-timers could never reach. A century ago, the miners didn't have high-pressure underwater drills or thermal-regulated blasting rigs. They had to stop whenever they hit a rock they couldn't move by hand or with basic winches. This means Dustin is essentially the first person in history to touch this specific layer of Earth. The nuggets are everywhere because they've been concentrated in these deep pockets by the flow of the creek over eons. It's a gold miner's paradise. Dustin called the dive early because he was so excited to show the team what was in the box. He promised them there were ounces upon ounces of gold waiting for them. He wasn't lying. Record-breaking hauls and future fortunes. When Dustin came ashore, he was the happiest he's been in years. He's been mining McKinley Creek for 4 years now, and this was the first time he'd seen gold coming up continuously like a conveyor belt. He saw nothing but yellow for the last hour of his dive. The new blasting tool has completely changed the game for them. No matter how big the rock is now, it can't stop them from reaching the treasure. It's a total shift in power. Before, the creek dictated where they could work. Now, Dustin and his machine dictate terms to the creek. He said he'll remember this day for the rest of his life, and it's easy to see why. They're finally in the big money. Hands down, this is the most successful run the team has ever had.
That puts us over 40 ounces, man. We're doing better every season.
41.5 ounces for the season. That's not counting the nuggets. That's over $80,000.
They're looking at a future where they can clear entire sections of the creek that were previously considered impossible. This means the potential for millions of dollars in gold is now within their reach. But you have to wonder if this kind of success is sustainable or if they've just hit a lucky pocket. The thing is, they're finding this gold because they're using technology that didn't exist for miners in the past. It's a combination of brave diving and smart engineering. The crew is already planning where to blast next. They know the gold is there, and now they have the teeth to go get it. What most people don't realize is that this isn't just about the money. It's about proving that there's still wealth to be found in the American wilderness if you're willing to work for it. They're taking massive risks every time they drop an explosive into a hole 8 feet underwater. One wrong move with that pressure-sensitive drill could end the season. But for Dustin Hurt and his crew, the risk is clearly worth the reward. They've found the motherboard, and they aren't planning on stopping until every ounce of gold is out of that creek and in their pockets. It's a new era of gold mining, and the numbers are only going to get bigger from here. Will this new machine keep pulling up millions, or is the creek about to fight back? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Would you like me to find more info on Dustin's next project?